Welcome to the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show, where we make plant-based cooking easy. I'm Jill, and today we are going to make a delicious Italian tofu bake.
Grab a plate, 'cause it's the all-free whole food plant-based cooking show.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. I don't know about you, but here it is getting cold outside. So we're going to make something that's super nice and comforting. This is a tofu bake in a really delicious, robust tomato and mushroom sauce. So we're just gonna jump right in. I've got my pan already heated up here, and we're gonna get our onions cooking and some of our other vegetables here. And if you want the complete list of ingredients, we'll have a printable recipe in the details below. So I'm gonna put my onions in. That was one whole red onion, one whole red pepper, and then 8 ounces of just regular sliced mushrooms. And I like to cook them all together because as the mushrooms cook, they're gonna release some juices, which seems kind of strange, right? You know, the mushrooms are pretty dry, but they have a lot of juice in them. So as they cook, they're gonna release that juice, which is gonna keep the onions from sticking. So that's how we don't need to use any oil in the bottom of this pan. But if you feel like it is starting to stick a little bit, all you have to do is pour just a little bit of water or a little bit of vegetable broth, and it'll come right off, and you can finish cooking your veggies. So I'm gonna let these cook until all of that moisture is cooked out of the mushrooms, and the onions are a bit translucent. So we're gonna let that cook for a bit, and then I'll show you how to put the rest together.
Today's show is brought to you in part by Nutrilicious. Nutritional yeast is an essential ingredient found in every modern-day plant-based kitchen that actually dates back to ancient Egyptian times. Nutrilicious nutritional yeast is a powerful superfood that is gluten-free, low in sodium, non-GMO, and 100% vegan. Nutrilicious is high in dietary fiber, pound for pound has more protein than beef, and is full of the cheesy flavor we crave. As a very special deal for our viewers, click the link in the card or in the description to save up to 55% off of your order.
Okay, so our onions and mushrooms and peppers are all done cooking. Oh, they are looking and smelling so great. And about halfway through, I stuck in the garlic. There were 3 cloves of garlic, finely minced. Okay, so what I'm gonna do next is I have a half a bag, which is about 8 ounces of frozen spinach, which you're more than welcome to use fresh spinach. But I just find that I love to keep bags of frozen spinach on hand, lots of them in my freezer, because it's so easy just to toss it into a meal. You know, for your added greens, I just love to have them because they're always on hand. So I'm just gonna put them on top of the already cooked stuff here, because that residual heat there will thaw that out even more, because it's still gonna go in the oven, which is gonna cook it even more. Okay, so now we're gonna mix all of the rest of the, this robust tomato sauce. Oh, it's so good. So this is just a regular 14-ounce can of chopped tomatoes. And then we have 1 can of tomato paste. And from a tip from my viewer a while back, you can open both ends, take the lid off of one, and then you flip it over and push this so it gets all of that tomato paste out of there, because it's always so hard to get all of the goodness out of there with a spoon. And it gets most of it out, probably more than the spoon would. Okay, and we have a 1/4 cup of Kalamata olives that I've finely diced. And then we have a bunch of different spices here. A 1/2 teaspoon of thyme, a 1/2 teaspoon of tarragon. And if you don't have tarragon, or if you've never used tarragon before, it's a really interesting flavor spice. So I would check it out and try it. But if you don't have it, it's not necessary. A teaspoon of oregano, a teaspoon of basil, and a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. And then we have a 1/2 cup of vegetable broth and a 1/2 cup of red wine. But if you don't want to use red wine, you can just use another half cup of the vegetable broth. That works just fine. But I really like the flavor that red wine gives to red sauces. And you're going to be sticking this in the oven, so it's going to cook all of that, you know, any of the alcohol out of it. So you don't have to worry about the alcohol part of it. Okay, we're just going to stir it a little bit, and then now we're going to add all of these delicious veggies in there. Whew, that pan is heavy. Gotta have strong arms to do this stuff. Okay, don't want to leave any of those goodies behind. All right, there we go. All right, and then we have 2 teaspoons of Bragg's liquid aminos, but you could use soy sauce or tamari or even liquid coconut aminos. They all work just about the same. It just adds a little bit of saltiness to this. So now we're just going to stir that up really good. Oh, this smells so good. I just can't even explain it. Okay, there we go. That's mixed up. All right, so what I have here, I have some extra firm tofu. And this is actually a high protein tofu, so it's even more extra firm. And this is a 14-ounce package. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half. I'm going to set it the long way, and then I'm going to cut it in half this way. So you're going to have 2 slabs. And then I'm going to poke some holes on both sides. And what that's going to do, because it's such a firm tofu, it's a really tight texture. So when you're cooking it and stuff, you know, it struggles to soak up that marinade, so we want it to soak that up. So that's why I'm putting holes in it. You could do this with a fork too, that would work. Okay. Set this aside. I'm going to grab my pan here. I've got a glass casserole dish. This is just a regular, I think it's 9 by 13. And we're going to put a little bit of the sauce on the bottom. Just for the tofu to sit on. We're going to do that first. Then we're going to nestle our tofu down in it, just like that. Next to each other. I would put a little space in there just to give it a little more soakable energy there. And now we're just going to pour the rest of it on top of it and around it. Okay, set that out of the way. Wow, oh, this looks so good. We've had this a lot lately because I've been really working hard on perfecting this one. So, so delicious. Okay, so now I have my oven preheated to 400 degrees and we're going to stick it in there first for 20 minutes. And then I have another secret ingredient that we're going to pour on top after that 20 minutes. So let's get it in the oven. While we're waiting for that, I'd like to share with you some background on our show. The Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show is crowd-funded, which means these free weekly recipe videos, along with our entire catalog of recipes on our website, plantbasedcookingshow.com, and our new Plant-Based Cooking Made Easy cookbook are all made possible in part by the generous patronage of our supporting members. By becoming a supporting member, you gain access to great member perks like monthly product giveaways, free downloads of our ebooks, and access to our in-depth courses, including our 28 Days Plant-Based Made Easy course, where we offer a step-by-step guide to making the switch to a fully plant-based diet. We create this show for the hundreds of thousands of viewers just like you who tune in each month from all over the world to make it easy for everyone to live a plant-based lifestyle. So if you love our content, please join us on our mission and become a supporting member today by following the link in the description. Okay, let's get back to the show. Okay, so this is 15 minutes if you want to come in and see it at 15 minutes. It smells like magic, but there's still one more ingredient, guys. Woo! This is just going to put it way over the top. It is kind of a creamy sauce that we're going to pour on top. So it's a 3/4 of a cup of soy milk. Same thing, unsweetened soy milk or any plant milk of your choice, but I usually just stress that it's unsweetened, because that's where they hide a lot of those like refined sugars and fillers and all kinds of yuck stuff. 1/4 of a cup of nutritional yeast, 1/4 of a cup of rolled oats, 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard. We're just guesstimating there. 1 tablespoon of white wine vinegar. But if you don't have white wine vinegar, you can use apple cider vinegar. That will work too. I just like the flavor of the white wine vinegar a little bit better. Then 1 teaspoon of Bragg's. Okay, now we're just going to blend this up until it's super, super creamy. Okay, there we go. And for you folks out there that love creamy sauces but can't have nuts, this is a great alternative. You can always use rolled oats, because when they blend up, they get really creamy, and as it sits in this thing, it will thicken up. It's very similar, and then you don't have to worry about the nuts. So we're just going to pour it on top. And I kind of like to leave the tofu a little bit exposed. And really, you could do this in the beginning, you could mix it in, but I kind of like that it's just kind of a cheesy top. Because then every bite, you know, you kind of get a little bit of that cheesy, creamy flavor. All right, so back into the oven we go for another 20 minutes. Woohoo! Come and take a look. This is done. It is super hot and it smells amazing. So I'm gonna get a fork and a plate and I'll meet you at the table for a taste. Time to eat. So I've just got some red lentil noodles here. You could eat this over rice or just over greens or over pasta. It's kind of good over anything really, or even by itself. I kind of like it by itself. So we're gonna get a little chunk here. Get a chunk of the tofu. And then I'm gonna get some of this delicious sauce and a little bit of the cheesy stuff. Oh, I wish you could smell this. Gosh, it smells so good. But of course, it's gonna be flaming hot too. Oh well. I absolutely love tofu cooked this way. This particular tofu is so chewy and there's just so much substance to it. And the sauce. So many different flavors. And then you get a little bit of the creaminess from that sauce. This is definitely a great, comforting, like fall night meal. So give this guy a like, and I'll see you next week for another great recipe.